What's up, family? What's up, family? This is Juan J. Johnson of Real Talk and Making Dreams Come True LLC coming to you live. Coming to you live on this May 20th, 2020. May 20th, 2020. One day after the birthday of El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X. I want to come to you today because I did not get a chance to put the respect that I need be on Malcolm X. I think that on Malcolm X's 95th birthday, that we as a people are not putting their respect on the ancestors that we should. Dr. John Henry Clark, who wrote the book Notes for an African World Revolution, said these words: a people who do not put respect on their ancestors, their offspring will not respect them. I'm going to say this again. A people who will not respect their ancestors, their offspring won't respect them. And if you look at the state of the black community right now, the African American community right now, just look at us. There is no respect for the elders. Love you too, cuz. There is no respect for the elders from the offspring, the children. And I understand that concept. I really understand what Dr. Clark meant when he said that, because, again, here we are, one day after the birthday, the sunrise day of probably the greatest orator who spoke for human rights and foundational black American rights, who articulated slavery like nobody's ever done before, who called the white man under the teachings of Elijah Muhammad that the white man was the devil, and stood his ground, shocked the system, right? We're talking about Malcolm X. Malcolm X. The very Malcolm X whose 95th sunrise day was yesterday. And not one of your traditional favorite television or radio stations said not one word. Now, I wrote this. I'm going to read what I wrote yesterday. I think it's applicable before I go into my spiel. So let me write what I said. In the era of COVID-19, if you're a foundational black American and you are not celebrating Malcolm X Sunrise Day today, May 19th, 2020, you, my friend, are out of order. If you're a foundational black American and you drink and believe everything you hear from CNN, MSNBC, CBS, NBC, Fox News, I'ma add BBC, MPT, WETA, all these traditional stations that we listen to, okay? And your local media facilities, you are misinformed. You are misinformed. These are the same media outlets who haven't mentioned Malcolm X's name not one time on their platform. Say this again, because we swear by MSNBC, we swear by CNN. We swear by ABC. We swear by CBS. We swear by all these traditional, historical, national, international brands. BBC also. And not one of them put no respect on Malcolm X's birthday, Sunrise Day. I said, you, my friend, you out of pocket. And you have been officially assimilated into the system of racism and white male-dominant society. I'll read that again. These are the same media outlets who have mentioned, these are the same media outlets who haven't mentioned Malcolm's name at all on their platforms. You, my friend, you out of pocket. You're out of order and you're out of pocket. Watch this. Marcus Garvey warned us. He warned foundational black Americans about drinking all the poison of America. See, we can't see outside of America. Marcus Garvey warned us, warned the Negro, warned foundational black Americans about drinking all of the poisons of America. He said, if the Negro is not careful, he will drink in all the poison of modern civilization and die from the effects of it. So watch this. There's what we call a quick death, and then what we call a slow death. It's still death. A quick death is somebody walk up on you, putting a gun to your head, and taking you out. A quick death is somebody getting a note, or getting a knife, and slitting your throat. Quick death is somebody running you over in a car or train. But then there's those slow deaths. A slow death is somebody poisoning you over time. A little bit here, a little bit there, in your food. You get sick, you go to the doctor, you checked out, you pay it no mind. MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, BBC, the poison. I say poison because these brands, news outlets, facilities, media platforms have been around a long time, even in the days of Malcolm, NBC, CBS, ABC, maybe not CNN, okay? But these poisonous outlets have been around for a long time. And I say poisonous because these are the very brands, the very platforms that what they do, they made the foundational black American out to be a beast. They made us to believe that we were the cause for slavery. As King was fighting for civil rights, they killed him. And Malcolm was fighting for human rights, they killed him. But they flipped the script. Think about every time King's birthday come up. They always tell you what King would have wanted you to do, what King would have thought. Well, you know what? If the government had not killed King, maybe we would know what King would have thought. And actually, King did make the statement that I fear that I've led my people into a burning house. Okay? With that said, I felt the need, I felt compelled to turn you away from your regularly scheduled programming. And I meant programming because, again, if every media outlet is on the same page, saying the same thing, repeating the same stories, it's no longer news, it's programming. And I felt the need to come to you today, the day after Malcolm's 95th sunrise days. Although I did repost a video from 2 years ago. In Malcolm's words, what he said, what he thought, how he felt. But seeing so much disrespect from so-called even black media outlets. When I say disrespect, them not saying nothing. This should be Malcolm X week, not day. This should be Malcolm X week. Like President's Week, President's Day, this should be Malcolm X week for us. And this is why I felt the need to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming. Again, if you're not, if you take what this media is saying as gospel, and all you consume with is COVID-19 and Trump and nothing in the middle, you, my friend, are being programmed. You, my friend, are being miseducated. You, my friend, are being misinformed. This is Malcolm X week, not Malcolm X day. And we should be still talking about Malcolm. You should at least heard a video about Malcolm. What Malcolm said some 55 years ago is relevant now. And I got the receipts. I got the receipts. So with that said, let's hear some Malcolm. If you ain't heard no Malcolm yesterday, you're going to hear some Malcolm today. That's how important Malcolm X is. Malcolm X's message is more relevant today than if it was back in 1965 when they killed him. You're going to hear some Malcolm in his own words. And I'm going to narrate some things. Because I need to connect those dots between 1965 and now this COVID-19. I'm going to connect the dots for you. I wasn't going to do it. But I saw so much disrespect for Malcolm X. And again, we so concerned about the damn Trumps, about some lying-ass Bidens, and this damn COVID-19. You're more afraid of COVID-19 than the system of white supremacy. Let me say this again. Most of you Negroes are more afraid of COVID-19 than the system of racism, white supremacy. Let me say this again. Most of you are more afraid of COVID-19 than this white system of white male domination on your throat. You need a checkup. You need a checkup. And I'm here right now to provide that checkup. With that said, let's go to Malcolm. His first speech. No, the speech that I'm gonna give you Malcolm speech, the legendary speech, the ballot or the bullet. I'm not gonna do all of it. But you need to hear what he said, just in the intro, just in his intro. And you're gonna see the comparisons from 1965 to 2020. With that said, let me present to some and introduce to others El-Haj Malik El-Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X.
Mr. Moderator, Reverend Cleave, brothers and sisters, and friends, and I see some enemies. In fact, I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we had an audience this large and didn't realize that there were some enemies present. This afternoon, we want to talk about the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet explains itself. But before we get into it, since this is the year of the ballot or the bullet, I would like to clarify some things that refer to me personally concerning my own personal position. I'm still a Muslim. That is, my religion is still Islam.
So for those who thought that Malcolm was going to be a Christian, he just told you. This is January 1965, 1 month before he got killed. He's still a Muslim. Back to Malcolm.
My religion is still Islam. I still credit Mr. Muhammad for what I know and what I am. He's the one who opened my eyes. And at present, I'm the minister of the newly founded Muslim Mosque Incorporated, which has its offices in the Teresa Hotel right in the heart of Harlem. That's the Black Belt in New York City.
It's no longer, after 55 years, Harlem is no longer the Black Belt. See, I gotta narrate some of this because at 65, it was the Black Belt. Right now, after Bill Clinton moved his office in Harlem, it's been gentrified. It's no longer Black Harlem, it's white Harlem, okay? Facts.
And when we realize that Adam Clayton Powell is a Christian minister, he has the Abyssinia Baptist Church, but at the same time he's more famous for his political struggling. And Dr. King is a Christian minister from Atlanta, Georgia, or in Atlanta, Georgia, but he's become more famous for being involved in the civil rights struggle. There's another in New York, Reverend Galamison. I don't know if you've heard of him out here. He's a Christian minister from Brooklyn, but has become famous for his fight against the segregated school system in Brooklyn. Reverend Cleave, right here, is a Christian minister here in Detroit. He's the head of the Freedom Now Party. All of these are Christian ministers. All of these are Christian ministers, but they don't come to us as Christian ministers. They come to us as fighters in some other category. I'm a Muslim minister. The same as they are Christian ministers, I'm a Muslim minister. And I don't believe in fighting today in any one front, but on all fronts.
Let me stop right there. Let's fast forward to 2020. Can you name me 5 black ministers who will fight for social justice like a Malcolm was, like a Martin was? These ministers these days won't even open their damn mouths about social justice. These ministers these days won't even talk about the high-tech lynchings taking place among black people. These ministers these days remain silent on social issues. These ministers these days, and I'm talking about imams too, imams and preachers, black ones specifically, the silence from them is equivalent to betrayal. Hell, Keaton said there comes a time when silence is betrayal. I come hard on preachers and ministers because at one time they were the forerunners. They were the ones who was leading the abolitionist movements. They were the ones who was providing shelter for the runaway slaves. They were the ones who was speaking out against injustices. Now these ministers these days, it's all about the bling. It's all about the music. It's all about a message. A message. If you are 21st century minister right now, as of May 20th, 2020, and you have yet to address social issues, you are worthless. You're worthless. Because we have not progressed. Foundational black Americans have not progressed in the last 55 years after the death of Martin or Malcolm or Huey or Fred Hampton or Ida B. Wells or Fannie Lou Hamer. We have not progressed. We have not progressed, family. We've integrated, but we have not progressed. Again, I don't even trust the preachers these days. And I've said publicly that in times of war, biological, air, land, sea, and economic war, you don't consult preachers. You don't consult preachers. In times of war, you don't consult these sellout ass activists and these politicians. You consult the warrior class. I'm unapologetic. You know what I've done. I know the FBI, they all are watching. You know what I'm capable of. Been trained and still training. Okay? You don't consult ministers in times of war. And we, my friend, are at war. We've been at war. Just because this nation or the powers be have not said it verbally, their actions speak louder than their damn words. Been at war, family. Been at war. Back to Malcolm.
In fact, I'm a black nationalist freedom fighter. Islam is my religion, but I believe my religion is my personal business. It governs my personal life, my personal morals, and my religious philosophy is personal between me and the God in whom I believe, just as the religious philosophy of these others is between them and the God in whom they believe. And this is best this way. Were we to come out here discussing religion, we'd have too many differences from the outstart, and we could never get together. So today, though Islam is my religious philosophy, my political, economic, and social philosophy is black nationalism. You and I... As I say, if we bring up religion, we'll have differences, we'll have arguments, we'll never be able to get together. But if we keep our religion at home, keep our religion in the closet, keep our religion between ourselves and our God, but when we come out here, we have a fight that's common to all of us against the enemy who is common to all of us. The political philosophy of black nationalism only means that the black man should control the politics and the politicians in his own community. The time when white people can come in our community and get us to vote for them so that they can be our political leaders and tell us what to do and what not to do is long gone. By the same token, the time when that same white man, knowing that your eyes are too far open, can send another Negro into the community, get you and me to support him so he can use him to lead us astray, those days are long gone.
Let me stop right there. I've been saying recently that COVID-19 is a reset. It's gone from a reset to a restructuring. I've been saying that COVID-19 exposed 4 classes of people. It exposed the politicians for selling us out. I'm talking about specifically foundational black American communities. It exposed the preachers for selling us out, for not having no vision, okay? Again, what we see in our neighborhoods are called LLCs. We have LLCs in our neighborhoods, liquor stores, litter, and churches. That's all we see. You go to a black community, you see a liquor store, you see litter, and you see churches. So when I say the preacher sold us out, it means them refusing to address social issues and even encouraging practicing black group economics. Okay? The activists sold us out. The Jessies, the Owls. I know some folks are gonna be upset when I say this. The National Urban League, the NAACP. You name all these branches, they sold us out, family. They sold us out. They sold us out. And then you have your business leaders. Your business leaders, the ones who you respect. They sold us out. We say, well, how can you say they sold us out? I'm glad you asked. 55 years since this speech. 55 years since the ballot or the bullet. Okay, this was 65, January 65. 1 month before he got killed. Fast forward to 20th century. 20th century right now. 21st century. COVID-19. The economic tsunami that hit this whole nation, right? Hit the whole nation. So nobody was exempt from being hit. The virus is real. Yeah. But the economic tsunami is even more real. The economic tsunami is the black community finally received the wake-up call that they don't have no community. They have neighborhoods. That every other group of people under the sun in America has communities. The Asians have communities. The Latinos have communities. The Europeans, the whites have communities, okay? Even the Caribbeans have a Caribbean community. The Ethiopians have communities where they eat and where they work, where they sleep, okay? They have the stores, grocery stores, okay? Native African Americans, foundational black Americans have been here 400 years, 401 years according to European colonial history, right? 401 years, okay? From 1619, okay, to 2019, it's 400 years. But from 1619 to 1865 was 250 something years of free slave labor. From 1865 to 1965 was 100 years of legalized lynching, Jim Crow. And from 65 to current day has been unprovoked attacks upon black people by suspected white supremacists, okay? But as far as the economy, the economic piece, we woke up. We have waken up to the fact that right now, we have plenty individual stores that we can go shopping at, right? But as a community, we have to go outside of our own neighborhoods and go to somebody else's backyard just to get the bread, just to get the Lysol, just to get the bleach, just to get whatever we need to sustain ourselves. And this is the betrayal of the preachers, the politicians, the business leaders, and the activists, the civil rights activists. Because everybody was pushing this narrative for the last 50-some years. We have an economic spending. We can spend. We brag about black people, we got $1 billion spending power. Now we got $1 trillion spending power. Where your factories at? Where your farms at? Where your grocery stores at? Now watch this. From 1619 to 1865, when we just gave this country free slave labor, just straight slave labor, I can understand us not having nothing, because they got 250 years of free slave labor off of us, family. So we ain't had nothing. We built this mother. We built this. We built this. But when we was released from slavery, that first 25 years, from 1865 up into the 1900s, 1920s, first 25 years, 50 years, and we built built these neighborhoods, these communities, these black Wall Streets, although they was being burnt down. Look at the history of 1920s, the Red Summers, the Devil's Punch Bowl. Just study 1920 up until 1923 and see that we had communities, thriving communities that was burnt down by a white brother. But watch this now. Corona-19 exposed that when this virus hit and the dust cleared, we have the same thing now in 2020 as we had in 1865, being after the Reconstruction. We get the same thing now, which is nothing. They have nothing. 1865 was at the Civil War. It was the Reconstruction era when they allegedly freed the slaves. We didn't have nothing. We had to start from scratch. 2020, the same thing has happened. We have nothing to show for it. Been here 400 years. We have nothing. We don't, from Maine to California, we don't have not one black community. We have neighborhoods. It's where you eat and where you sleep. That's it. It's not where you work. Back to Malcolm.
The political philosophy of black nationalism only means that if you and I are going to live in a black community, and that's where we're going to live, because as soon as you move into as soon as you move out of the black community into their community, it's mixed for a period of time, but they're gone, and you're right there all by yourself. We must understand the politics of our community. And we must know what politics is supposed to produce. We must know what part politics play in our lives. And until we become politically mature, we will always be misled, led astray, or deceived or maneuvered into supporting someone politically who doesn't have the good of our community at heart. So the political philosophy of black nationalism only means that we will have to carry on a political program of re-education, to open our people's eyes, make us become more politically conscious, politically mature. And then we will, whenever we get ready to cast our ballot, that ballot will be cast for a man of the community who has the good of the community at heart.
Let me stop right there. So look, a new education, holding these politicians accountable. Watch this. I do not use the term people of color. I do not use the term minority. I don't see us all in the same boat. Why? Because this is what I know in my research. And I'm saying this, I'm being very intentional when I say this about I don't use people of color. I don't use minority, because most of these people of color and minorities cannot trace their lineage back to Jim Crow or even any of the blood that was shed from 1619, 1857. Okay? And most of these people of color, per se, have their own communities. They use the term interchangeably when it best suits them. Nobody really want to be black unless they need some benefits. Let's keep it 100 right now, because even when I go back and I listen to the Malcolms, or the Dr. Welsings, the Dr. Benns, the Dr. Clarks, the Amos Wilsons, my job as a student is to learn from the teacher and become better. Say this again. If a teacher is teaching you, your job is to become greater than the teacher. Okay? So you find out what worked, what didn't work. Okay? So this is like a case study, an examination. Not just reflection, but examination. Because I can now apply what's going on in the 20th century or the 21st century to what was happening in the 20th century. This is 20th century Malcolm. We are now in the 21st century. Some similarities, but some differences. I am pro. I'm going on record. I've said it before. I'm saying it again. I am pro foundational Black Americans, aka coloreds, Negroes, niggers, ADOS, whatever you want to call yourself, African American. I am pro foundational Black Americans. Why? Because those who don't know the history can't appreciate the struggle, can't appreciate the lineage. And I understand the importance of lineage matters. And people who come here who look like us but don't appreciate the sacrifice, then they build their own communities. And they look at us like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? Okay. So, yes, although I'm playing the Malcolm, but I'm trying to bring this stuff to current 21st century right now. Because what he's saying in the 20th century, 1965, is still current today. Back to Malcolm.
The economic philosophy of Black nationalism only means that we should own and operate and control the economy of our community. You would never find, you can't open up a Black store in a white community. White man won't even patronize you. And he's not wrong. He got sense enough to look out for himself. And you who don't have sense enough to look out for yourself. The white man is too intelligent to let someone else come and gain control of the economy of his community. But you will let anybody come in and control the economy of your community.
That's why I said, family, that we have been sold out by civil rights leaders, the ministers, the politicians, and the business leaders, the big four. Because right now, who are we codependent on right now for our survival? Everybody but us. Every store you go to, where you buy your food from, the people selling the food don't look like you, unless they work in there, but they don't own the facilities. We don't own Giant. We don't own Piggly Wigglies. We don't own Kruger's. We don't own Safeway. We don't own none of these grocery stores. None of them. We don't own these dry cleaners. We don't own a lot of these restaurants. We don't have no factories. We're not making our own underwear. We're not making our own shoestrings. We're not making our own shoes. Everybody who's making something is a white face, per se. And if you're codependent on others for your survival, you're committing economic suicide. I've been saying Black economic suicide. That's why I blame the preachers. That's why I blame the politicians. That's why I blame the activists. Because these are the ones who've been pushing this. You don't need to own nothing. Just spend. And some 400 years later, We have nothing to show for it. 401 years. Let me keep going though.
Control the housing, control the education, control the jobs, control the businesses under the pretext that you want to integrate. No, you're out of your mind. The economic philosophy of black nationalism only means that we have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled, misguided, are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man. The man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. And then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing in a run-down community. Why, you run it down yourself when you take your dollar out.
Let me ask you something, family. Let me ask you something. We talk about our $1 trillion spending power. What do we have to show for? Everybody who takes money from us, they take it outside of our community. Right now, in the 21st century, the Chinese have gone on record who's been discriminating, who have basically evicted Foundation Black Americans and Africans from their homes, their houses, because of the COVID-19, quarantined them, and tested them, and keeping them from doing their own shopping, keeping them from shopping, from buying, from even surviving in China. Right? Where is the outcry from the mainland Chinese here in America about how they're treating the people who have paid so much money, who've put so much money into their businesses that we've sent more of their children to college than our own. We've sent more of their children to college than our own family. Okay? You will never see the Jewish community, the Orthodox Jews, spend their money outside their community unless they have to. And even the Asian communities that we don't see, they come into our neighborhoods, they open up shop, and they take the money back to their neighborhoods. Never coming back doing nothing for us. But we continue to commit economic suicide and think it's cool. It's not. It's not. The Latinos have their own communities too, have their own grocery stores, okay? Everybody is practicing group economics except for the longest people in this country who's been here, which is Foundation Black Americans. That's got to stop. That has to stop. But I digress. Back to Malcolm.
And you and I are in a double trap, because not only do we lose by taking our money someplace else and spending it, when we try and spend it in our own community, we're trapped because we haven't had sense enough to set up stores and control the businesses of our community. The man who's controlling the stores in our community is a man who doesn't look like we do. He's a man who doesn't even live in the community. So you and I, even when we try and spend our money in the block where we live or the area where we live, we're spending it with a man who, when the sun goes down, takes that basket full of money in another part of the town.
And let me say this. For those who preach and speak against group economics, you are committing group suicide. Say this again. The only people that fight group economics are those who are ingracious to integration. They cannot see themselves outside of being inside the white boy's face, or the Asian man's face, or the Latino's face, anybody's face but their own face. Okay? We've got to We've got to practice some self-love. We've got to practice some self-love for the survival of our species, family. When I see a black child, whether it's a male or female, I see the future. Either I let them or I didn't give them. What future are we leaving our children who can't defend themselves, who don't know about economics? Are we just going to keep having the party, singing, playing? We have yet to even feel the carnage from this economic tsunami from COVID-19. You got some food in your house right now, and you may have your closets filled up or your basement. But how long is that going to last? Just for you and your family? Okay. When I say preachers are responsible, I'm saying because they preach that gospel of individuality. I posted the other day. The father and mother of social distance is social media. Say this again. The father and mother of social distance is social media. Because social media is not personal. I got to see you. I don't even touch you. I don't hug you or come grab you. Same thing with social distancing. Don't touch. Don't grab. Keep some distance. The father of social distance is social media. Better think about that. Okay? We have got to get away from this individualism. We have got to stop giving all our monies to everybody else and expecting that we're going to be able to survive this economic suicide we've been practicing for the last 50 years. I'm not giving the NAACP no break. I'm not giving National Action Network no break. I'm not giving the Urban League no break. I'm not giving the Rainbow Coalition no break, because these are the voices for the last 40, 50 years that we have been listening to. These are the ones that your favorites, Maxine Waters. The people who have been the voices for our collective for the last 50-something years or 40 years have been pushing black economic suicide. We don't need no businesses. We just gonna spend that money. They gotta respect us. Nah, Slim, not since COVID-19. If people decide to not serve us no more, if the Latinos say you can't come in our stores, if the others decide, you know what, go to your own store, what you gonna do? Where you gonna go? We don't have our own doctors, our own lawyers, our own scientists. Could you imagine under this whole COVID-19 piece that we're doing right now? And everybody's trying to make us the face of COVID-19, right? If we had our own scientists, our own black laboratories, so that we wouldn't be so codependent on what BBC gonna say, what is CNN gonna say, what these other news facilities are gonna say. We are waiting for them to tell us about our extermination. And we don't have people in place to fact check these folks. Who's fact checking the system who don't like us, who don't love us? That's what I'm saying. If you're so consumed with MSNBC, BBC, CBS, NBC, ABC, proven entities, proven media facilities owned by maybe 5 or 6 of the richest families in the world, okay, who have nothing to say good about us except for he's a killer, he's a drug, we're killers, we use drugs, our women are hoes. How do you trust these media outlets on this COVID-19 piece? How do you even trust them at all? How do you trust them for factual information about us? Back to Malcolm. This is Malcolm X week. You got YouTube, put up a video, hit play, and get reprogrammed. Interrupt your regularly scheduled programming. Put COVID-19 for a side. It ain't going nowhere. Put Trump to the side for a second. He ain't going nowhere. Get re-educated. And I mean that. Back to Malcolm.
So we're trapped, double trapped, triple trapped. Anywhere we go, we find that we're trapped. And every kind of solution that someone comes up with is just another trap. But the political and economic philosophy of black nationalism, the economic philosophy of black nationalism shows our people the importance of setting up these little stores and developing them and expanding them into larger operations. Woolworth didn't start out big like they are today. They started out with a dime store and expanded and expanded and expanded until today they're all over the country and all over the world, and they're getting some of everybody's money. Now this, what you and I in General Motors, the same way, didn't start out like it is. It started out just a little rat race type operation, and it expanded and expanded until today is where it is right now. And you and I have to make a start. And the best place to start is right in the community where we live. So our people not only have to be re-educated to the importance of supporting black business, but the black man himself has to be made aware of the importance of going into business. And once you and I go into business, we own and operate at least the businesses in our community. What we will be doing is developing a situation wherein we will actually be able to create employment for the people in the community. And once you can create some employment in the community where you live, it will eliminate the necessity of you and me having to act ignorantly and disgracefully, boycotting and picketing some cracker someplace else, trying to beg him for a job.
So watch this. The two evils in the black community is not just unemployment, but joblessness. The two are not the same. Unemployment is you can't find a job. Joblessness, there are no jobs. We're not even creating jobs. And like Malcolm was saying, we need to start creating our own jobs. We have to go from this philosophy of go to school, get an education, get a degree, and work for somebody, to go to school, get an education, and open your own store. Create jobs. We have to start practicing this right now. In the era of COVID-19, we've gone from a reset to now we're under restructuring. And when I say restructuring, you see it every day when you go to these stores, whether it be to your grocery store or to your dollar store or to your Walmart or to your Home Depot. They got little arrows on the floor. They got 6 feet spaces and lines, and they're on the microphones telling you which way to go. This is social distancing. Now they're doing a restructuring right now. It's gone from a reset to restructuring. Okay, we have to get our acts together. We have to start being selfish, practicing black group economics for the survival of this species. And I'm going on record right now, and I'm going to say this. I can't imagine a world without foundational black Americans, African Americans, colored Negroes, the children of chattel slavery. There's no other group of people in the world like us, family. We are exceptional. People come here to America, you know why? To figure out how the hell do y'all coexist with your oppressor. I keep telling you, we're the oldest. In the era of colonialism, in the era of white male domination, in the era of white supremacy, racism, foundational black Americans, African Americans, whatever you call yourself, We're the oldest, we're the most ancient group of black people in the world. Hands down. We are the reflection, we are the memory of colonialism. We are the memory of slave ships. We are the children of chattel slavery. So when everybody come here and disrespect us, and this government try to find, this government finds the money to give to everybody but us, we have a right to be angry. We have a right to be upset because we see how they mistreat us. And they continue to mistreat us. So with that said, back to Malcolm.
Anytime you have to rely upon your enemy for a job, you're in bad shape. And he is your enemy. Anytime, you wouldn't be in this country if some enemy hadn't kidnapped you and brought you here. On the other hand, some of you think you came here on the Mayflower. So as you can see, brothers and sisters, today, this afternoon, it's not our intention to discuss religion. We're going to forget religion. If we bring up religion, we'll be in an argument. And the best way to keep away from arguments and differences, as I said earlier, put your religion at home, in the closet. Keep it between you and your God. Because if it hasn't done anything more for you than it has, you need to forget it anyway. Whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a nationalist, we all have the same problem. They don't hang you because you're a Baptist, they hang you because you're black.
So watch this. Let's fast forward to the 21st century. Who's in the news right now? Ahmaud Arbery, a young brother, jogging in Georgia, was followed. Now we're hearing that he was followed for a couple of minutes, not just that 30-second clip you saw. And they finally performed a 21st century high-tech lynching. Okay? We had another story in Kentucky. Breonna, what's her name? What is her name? Breonna, what is your name, Breonna? I'm gonna get your name. I need to put some respect on Breonna, who was in her room, in her house with her boyfriend. Okay? In her house with her boyfriend, but the police came in and did a no-knock warrant, shot her 8 times. She was naked, killed her. The boyfriend got a gun, defended her, shot back, and they're trying to, they let him go. But again, another lynching. We're seeing the same thing. It's back in the 60s, in the 21st century. The same thing. The same thing. And a lot of us don't want to believe that people just don't like you. Don't like this color of your skin. I've been black all my life, and I know folks don't like me. I know. That's their business, as long as they don't put their hands on me. Okay? What's that sister named Breonna? COVID-19. I want to get her name. I want to say her name. Breonna. Who knows her name is in the oh, there it is. I wrote this 4 hours ago. The silence from the international community regarding the lynching of Ahmaud Arbery And the killing of Breonna Taylor is deafening. Foundational Black Americans have no friends in our plight for freedom and justice for our collective. All we have is each other. And mind you, I did not use the term people of color. Even the so-called people of color are silent. Where is this Black and Brown alliance and coalition? It doesn't exist. Breonna Taylor was in her house. They did a no-knock warrant, like around midnight. They at the wrong house. They shot her 8 times when she was nude, naked in the bed with her boyfriend. He gets the gun and fires back. But where is the outcry from the international community? Where's the outcry from anybody about Black people being lynched on camera, being killed weekly? We don't have no friends. Say this again. We don't have no friends, family. When it comes down to self-preservation, there are people who are wishing that we would just disappear, so they'll be the next in line. There are groups of people wishing that we were gone, that we would just disappear. I'm going to tell you why I can say that with accuracy. Because here we have the COVID-19, right? And we've been told that we are more susceptible to COVID-19, right? That because of our diets and our health, that we're more susceptible to it, right? Okay. So tell me this, if you really believe that, where's the legislation to help us out? Why aren't you putting us in a protective class? Why aren't you trying to protect the most vulnerable to this disease? Tell me why. Watch this. When that crack epidemic hit in the 80s, they locked our asses up. Okay? They locked us up in the 80s and the 90s. And I was there in the 90s, officially on board. Okay? Saw it firsthand. Let's fast forward to 2016, 2015, when this opioid crisis hit. When this opioid crisis hit this nation, what'd they do? Treatment, facilities. I went out to one mall, they got a big old sign that says, drug back. They was doing drug take-backs. This opioid crisis is killing who? 70, 60,000 white folks every year. They was trying to find treatment. We got to track down on what the doctors who was dispensing opioids, Oxycontin. Okay. They came up with a plan to protect their own. Fast forward to the 21st century, in the face, allegedly, of COVID-19. The silence is deafening. Not just from the nation, but from these so-called leaders, these politicians. Where's Maxine? Where are these ones who just love Black people, who've been out there for years speaking? And I haven't seen a bill introduced in Congress or the Senate about putting us in the protective class since we're supposed to be the face of COVID-19. Facts. I digress. Let me go back to Malcolm, because I just want to connect the dots. I want you to see what happened in 1965 and what's going on now in 2020. Nothing's changed, just time.
They don't attack me because I'm a Muslim. They attack me because I'm Black. They attack all of us for the same reason. All of us catch hell from the same enemy. We're all in the same bag, in the same boat. We suffer political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation. All of them from the same enemy. The government has failed us. You can't deny that. Anytime you live in the 20th century, 1964, and you walking around here singing, "We shall overcome," the government has failed. This is part of what's wrong with you. You do too much singing. Today it's time to stop singing and start swinging.
So watch this. I've been talking about self-defense for the last couple of years. I've been talking about arming yourselves for the last couple of years. I'm on record, on video, on paper, telling you you need to get ready. You need to arm yourselves. And I went a step further. I became a nationwide certified firearm instructor just to teach you how to protect yourself on top of my 20-something years in policing. Just to teach you how to defend yourself. I could have went off to the sunset, just chilled and enjoyed whatever retirement or pensions, whatever. But that's selfishness. Because what's at stake is the survival of the species. What's at stake is the survival of the black collective. So yes, it's time out for singing. It's time to do some swinging. And let me be clear about the swinging piece. Be very clear. You have every right to defend yourself, especially from lethal force, from somebody's trying to kill you, somebody's trying to take your life or take the life of somebody you love, that you love. Or you don't have to know them, but watch this. I'm gonna give you a prime example. If I was a security guard at your building where you work, okay, and there was an active shooter on the premises, like that active shooter took place in the Navy Yard a couple years ago, okay, and you are trying to get some cover, you're trying to protect yourself, you don't want to get killed, okay, and a group of y'all are together in the same room, and that shooter knocked on that door, he decided he wants to come in, you are within your right to stop that threat, even if you have to use lethal force, because he's already shooting everybody in the damn building. Y'all need to come off that, this waiting for somebody to help you when you can do it your damn self. You need to come off that. That you need the summons, that warrior spirit. I keep referring to my lone wolf because most people are looking for a leader, right? They're looking for a Malcolm. They're looking for a Martin. They're looking for a Huey. They're looking for a Fred Hampton. You're looking for a Faneuil Hamer. You're looking for a Rosa Parks. You're looking for a Harriet Tubman. You're looking for a Nat Turner. You're looking for a David Walker. They all reside within you. You need to become that person that you want to see. You need to become the person that you want to see. You have a warrior, a lone wolf in you. That's a lone wolf in you. That's a protector, a provider, a wolf that don't need the crowd, don't need one person. Just know that I need to handle my own business. a lone wolf in you. Summons it. Summons it. You have the right to protect yourself. Even when I did the police piece, I pledged to protect this nation against foreign and domestic enemies, and I still will, because this is my country. Foundation of Black American. Too much of my forefathers' blood is in that soil. Every time America, when the soil coughs before it says a word, it coughs up Foundation of Black Americans' blood. So I ain't going nowhere. Have no intentions on going nowhere. Stand right here. So when the others, if China wants to fight, Russia want to fight, whoever want to fight, I'm gonna lock arms with the brothers. We're gonna fight, because it's like a family feud right now. We're gonna fight to make sure America's safe. Okay? I'm on board with that. When that fight's over, I'm going back to fighting you. The system. The code, the American slave code and practiced in theory. The system, this is the system. White folks stay on code. Fighting the code. We're interested as a Foundation of Black Americans because we've been inside of a 400-year incubator. And anything inside of an incubator is taken out of its natural environment. You can grow flowers, trees, you can even hatch animals in an incubator. But guess what? It's not in its natural environment. So we've been brought up outside of our natural environment. America to you and to me, to Foundation Black Americans, I'm not talking about folks who come here, visitors, who apply for citizenship, who get visas. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about foundational Black Americans who can trace their lineage back to slavery, to Jim Crow, that the slavery code is passed down through our DNA at the cellular level, at the genetic level. We have been inside of a 400-year incubator. We have been a protected people for so long that now that we've been taken out the incubator and exposed to the elements, we are dying off. Just like a plant who, if you take it outside of its protected spot and you put it outside, it don't know how to adjust to the wind, the rain, the cold, the sun. It'll die. And that, my friend, is the perfect analogy of foundational Black Americans. We've been in an incubator for 400 years. We've been cut off from the rest of the world. We just recently started traveling back in the 80s, in the 90s. We just recently started traveling outside of America. Think about it. We as a people recently just started traveling outside America and going to other countries just because we was cut off from the rest of the world. America made sure their slaves was cut off. You can't have our niggers. And everywhere you go in the world, with no exception, when you come off that train or that plane and you open your mouth, they know you American. You may look like an African, but they know by your dialect, you American. We are exceptional. We are different. And don't let nobody tell you no. Don't let nobody tell you no different. And I need y'all to start a watch party with this. Start a watch party. Somebody start a watch party. Again, back to Malcolm. I'm taking my time with this because the disrespect that was showed on Malcolm on yesterday, and how we just on this damn COVID-19 crap, which is real, and I lost some friends to the disease, but listen to me. We have survived worse than COVID-19. And I mean that. Back to Malcolm.
You can't sing up on freedom, but you can swing up on some freedom. Clay can sing, but singing didn't help him to become the heavyweight champion of the world. Swinging helped him become. So this government has failed us. The government itself has failed us. And the white liberals who have been posing as our friends have failed us. And once we see that all these other sources to which we've turned have failed, we stop turning to them and turn to ourselves. We need a self-help program, a do-it-yourself philosophy, a do-it-right-now philosophy, it's already too late philosophy. This is what you and I need to get with. And the only way we're going to solve our problem is with a self-help program. Before we can get a self-help program started, we have to have a self-help philosophy. Black nationalism is a self-help philosophy. What's so good about it, you can stay right in the church where you are and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. You can stay in any kind of civic organization that you belong to and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. You can be an atheist and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. This is a philosophy that eliminates the necessity for division and argument.
So watch this. So Malcolm is saying black nationalism, right? And I've been saying foundation of black Americans. Again, I'm trying to evolve the conversation. Because I already know that all kinfolk ain't your, all skinfolk ain't your kinfolk. And I did the history. And I continue to do the history. And what I'm seeing among black folks who call themselves POCs or minorities, all they do is ride on the back of our struggle, get their benefits, and then leave us alone. The politicians do the same thing. All they do, they say nothing about us. They give us nothing. Family, what has the Democratic Party got for us in the last 50 years? Concrete. Concrete. I mean some tangible concrete legislation for us. Watch this. They just found $4 or $5 trillion bailout for the companies. Okay? $4 trillion within 3 weeks. And you can't do reparations for the children of chattel slavery who've been here for 400 years. They didn't do a study. They didn't have one professional, one specialist. They didn't do no hearings. All they did was cut a check for the businesses and for everybody else who they could find a check for. But they still avoid reparations for Foundation of Black Americans. They've given reparations to the Indians. They've given reparations to the victims of the concentration camps under in Japan. World War what? II? Okay. They've given reparations to the descendants of the Jewish community in Israel. They get $35 billion a year. And although the Holocaust it never took place on American soil, it took place in Germany, they get $35 billion a year. And you can't find no money for the descendants of chattel slavery, for the children of chattel slavery, that you owe us 40 acres and a mule. And the politicians, every time we get one who sound like he's going to support us, they turn black and white turn around and says, well, I'm not going to do anything for just black people. Kamala Harris. Or any politician. Well, I gotta look out for everybody. Let me go on record right now. The Congressional Coon Caucus, not Black Caucus, the Congressional Coon Caucus, all of them need to be evicted. They need to be gone today. Bobby Rush, you need to be gone. All of them need to go. Because we have evidence of the betrayal. What legislation right now that you can point to specifically for us, foundational Black Americans, that you can point to for us that they did, that they passed? They passed legislation for Latinos, for the illegal immigrants, for minorities, for the LGBTQ community, okay? And all those communities right off the sacrifice of the civil rights. Okay? They right off the backs of the civil rights movement. We got to we can no longer be, don't, look here, you are not a person of color. You're Black, foundational Black American, have a rich history, We are very, we're exceptional people. And I would advise you to go get Dr. Claude Anderson's book, all his books, Dr. Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics, Dirty Little Secrets in Black History. Okay. I would recommend you go get this book again. A book that has not been dissected, but I'm trying to dissect. For the American Slave Code and Practicing the Theory, because we don't understand the codes. America lives on a code. The system of racism is coded. Now, whether you understand it or not, it don't change the fact that they operate under a code. They are only 10% of the world's population and control 90% of the resources. They're on code. Okay? Let me keep going. Like I said, these videos, my page, Jizz, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, are for posterity. Long after I'm gone, hopefully, my words can inspire the next generation, as Malcolm words, as Dr. Francis Cress Wilson's words, as Dr. Ben's words, as Bishop Wilbert McKinley's word, as Reverend Ike's words, as Huey Newton's words, as Marcus Garvey's words have inspired you. Some of my teachers. You want your words to live beyond yourself. Okay? Back to Malcolm.
Because if you're Black, you should be thinking Black. And if you're Black and you're not thinking Black at this late date, well, I'm sorry for you. Once you change your philosophy, you change your thought pattern. Once you change your thought pattern, you change your attitude. Once you change your attitude, it changes your behavior pattern. And then you go on into some action. As long as you got a sit-down philosophy, you'll have a sit-down thought pattern. And as long as you think that old sit-down thought, you'll be in some kind of sit-down action. They'll have you sitting in everywhere. It's not so good to refer to what you're going to do as a sit-in. That right there castrates you. Right there it brings you down. What goes with it? Think of the image of someone sitting. An old woman can sit. An old man can sit. A chump can sit. A coward can sit. Anything can sit. Well, you and I have been sitting long enough, and it's time today for us to start doing some standing.
Fast forward, 21st century. We want to put our hands up. Don't shoot. Salute, right? That's the same thing as sitting in the 1960s and putting your hands up. Now, me being in law enforcement know what the salute means. Raise your hands means surrender. It's a universal sign. Anywhere in the world, see your hands mean one thing. You surrender. So if I'm the victim, why am I raising my hand? It's like sitting down. That run they did for the Ahmaud Arbery, that run they did, we're gonna run from Arbery, that ain't justice. Malcolm said something that was so profound. He said, castration. Castration. When you teleport your moves, it's like being castrated. When you're afraid to fight, that means you're castrated. You know, they neuter dogs, they neuter animals because they don't want they want to take the aggressiveness from that animal. Let's say that we've been on a 400-year castration process as a collective. Any man or woman who can sit by and watch their loved one, Trayvon Martin, or listen to it get killed, and the killer walks free, and you don't decide to deal with the killer of your son, that's castration. There's no safety for a male or female walking this earth that killed my children. And there's no safety. None. Either I'm going to be carried by 6 or judged by 12. But you, my friend, you won't be here. We've got to summons the confidence, summons the strength to fight, to stand. Especially if you're going to protect yourself. Especially if you're going to protect yourself. We're talking about protecting yourself. Again, just trying to put some respect on Malcolm X's Sunrise Day on yesterday that nobody talked about. Even your black media, your roots, News One. I mean, you know, nobody really put no respect on Malcolm X's Sunrise Day. But he gonna get it today, and I'm gonna take my time with. I could be talking about this. I can do this for 4 hours because it's just that important. It really is. It's just that important. We don't have voices of dissent among us because everybody's trying to be assimilated. They want to be assimilated so bad that they will forego their history. But not me. Quiet as it's kept, soft-spoken, calm, cool, collect. But you can't do 25 years in law enforcement. Ready to stop a threat. Ready to stop a threat. I didn't say take a life. I said stop a threat. But if the life don't happen, if it doesn't survive, hey, a warrior's mentality. A warrior's mentality. Back to Malcolm.
And some fighting in the back there. When we look at other parts of this earth upon which we live, we find that black, brown, red, and yellow people in Africa and Asia are getting their independence. They're not getting it by singing, "We shall overcome." No, they're getting it through nationalism. It is nationalism that brought about the independence of the people in Asia. Every nation in Asia gained its independence through the philosophy of nationalism, Every nation on the African continent that has gotten its independence brought it about through the philosophy of nationalism. And it will take black nationalism to bring about the freedom of 22 million Afro-Americans here in this country where we have suffered colonialism for the past 400 years. America is just as much a colonial power as England ever was. America is just as much a colonial power as France ever was. In fact, America is more so a colonial power than they, because she's a hypocritical colonial power behind it. What do you call second-class citizenship? Why, that's colonization. Second-class citizenship is nothing but 20th century slavery. How are you going to tell me you're a second-class citizen? They don't have second-class citizenship in any other government on this earth. They just have slaves and people who are free. Well, this country is a hypocrite. They try and make you think they set you free by calling you a second-class citizen. No, you're nothing but a 20th century slave. Just as it took nationalism to remove colonialism from Asia and Africa, it'll take black nationalism today to remove colonialism from the backs and the minds of 22 million Afro-Americans here in this country. And 1964 looks like it might be the year of the ballot or the bullet. Why does it look like it might be the year of the ballot or the bullet? Because Negroes have listened to the trickery and the lies and the false promises of the white man now for too long. And they're fed up. They've become disenchanted. They've become disillusioned. They've become dissatisfied. And all of this has built up frustrations in the black community that makes the black community throughout America today more explosive than all of the atomic bombs the Russians can ever invent. Whenever you got a racial powder keg sitting in your lap, you're in more trouble than if you had an atomic powder keg sitting in your lap. When a racial powder keg goes off, it doesn't care who it knocks out the way. Understand this, it's dangerous. And in 1964, this seems to be the year. Because what can the white man use now to fool us? After he put down that march on Washington, and you see all through that now, he tricked you, had you marching down to Washington. Yes, had you marching back and forth between the feet of a dead man named Lincoln and another dead man named George Washington, singing "We Shall Overcome." He made a chump out of it. He made a fool out of it. He made you think you were going somewhere, and you end up going nowhere but between Lincoln and Washington. So today our people are disillusioned. They've become disenchanted. They've become dissatisfied. And in their frustrations, they want action. You'll see this young black man, this new generation, asking for the ballot or the bullet. That old Uncle Tom action is outdated. The young generation don't want to hear anything about the odds are against us. What do we care about odds? When this country here was first being founded, there were 13 colonies. The whites were colonized. They were fed up with this taxation without representation. So some of them stood up and said, liberty or death. Though I went to a white school over here in Mason, Michigan. The white man made the mistake of letting me read his history books. He made the mistake of teaching me that Patrick Henry was a patriot. And George Washington wasn't nothing nonviolent about old Pat or George Washington. Liberty or death was what brought about the freedom of whites in this country from the English.
So watch this. I really have to say nothing because what he said speaks for itself. But I would say this. Fast forward to the 21st century. Our youngins, our younger generation, I can see the revolutionary spirit in them. I can see even the warrior spirit upon them. But they don't have the information. They don't have the historical context. So they're frustrated, they're mad, they're angry, upset, and they want to do something. But then you have the older generation who's been neutered, who's been castrated, who's been spaded, who's passing down that spirit of fear to them. And now we at a standstill. At a standstill. You know, I mean, look. When he talked about the 13 colonies fighting against the mighty arm of the British Empire, the British Empire had a slogan that says, the sun does not set on the British Empire. But the 13 colonies said, you know what? Old Patrick Henry said, give me liberty or give me death. He was not concerned about his life. He wanted to be free from the tyranny of the British Empire. Okay? What do you want to be free from? Have you become so assimilated that you've forgotten your history as a people? Malcolm's words in 1964, which is 56 years ago, runs true in 2020. Okay? Come on, family. The men. I have put myself out here to train these brothers. And if I couldn't train them, to find somebody to train them. To get you ready for what's about to happen. But you ain't ready. Because you're looking for somebody to save you. You're looking for somebody to save you. Instead of you saving yourself. I wouldn't even say it's frustrating. It's more so it's unfortunate that the warrior spirit has been zapped and taken from such a strong people. That they are wandering around holding hands, marching, we shall overcome, hugging up and, raising your hands while you're still being killed in the streets. Like dogs. While women are being killed and snatched and missing. Our children are going missing every day. All because we want to be near and dear to the system, which is proven time and time again that it does not work for us. Again, the beauty about COVID-19 is it's a reset. It brought clarity to how the system has neglected us and our so-called leaders neglected us. Sold us out. But it's a new day. We can start afresh. I am. I will work with anybody who wants to work with me. Malcolm went for the OAU, the Organization of African American Unity. I will restart my STOP. Stop. Stabilize, teach, oppress people. If we're serious about the business of foundational Black Americans first. I love everybody. But right now, I see that we are surrounded by enemies. And everybody is taking from us and not reciprocating back to us. And we used to be the moral conscious of the whole world and the nation. But now we're the entertainers. We're the dancers. We're the athletes. We're the comedians. Let me go on record right now. Say this. Not one damn comedian speak for me. Whether it's D.L. Hughley or Steve Harvey, you don't speak for me. Not one athlete speak for me. Whether you're LeBron James or whether you're Steve Curry, you don't speak for me. Not one entertainer speaks for me. Not one rapper speaks for me. Not one. Not one. Whether it's Jay-Z or Beyonce, T.I. or Killer Mike, you don't speak for me. None of them. I know how the system works. I know how they bring the less threatening ones and put them out there as the faces, as the leaders. I have been beating against this beast for years. When I was on the force, hell, my first day in the force, I came in there with a kufi and a purple suit, and they called me 1X in the academy. I've always been fighting this beast. I was that spook that sat behind the door on the force. I became proficient in writing because they was always coming for me. But I'm still here. Now I'm free. Whew. There were some things I couldn't say when I was on the force. They gets the business right now. Well, I've toned down a little bit. I'll say I've toned down a little bit. But I'm still as vicious, as calculating, precise, and as intentional as I ever was. I love foundational black people. I love everybody. But I'm not letting no Baptist, Methodist, Catholic, Pentecostal, Apostolic convince me that if you focus on just that group and not the collective, you're going to be okay. That's what Malcolm did. He focused on the collective, not the group. You must think as a nation, we are a nation within a nation, separate and unequal. Okay? Again, if some of you got to leave, go ahead, because I may be here all day doing this. You ain't doing nothing. Ain't nobody working. Back to Malcolm.
They didn't care about the arts, where they faced the wrath of the entire British Empire. And in those days, they used to say that the British Empire was so vast and so powerful when the sun would never set on it. This is how big it was. Yet these 13 little scrawny states, tired of taxation without representation, tired of being exploited and oppressed and degraded, told that big British Empire, liberty or death. And here you have 22 million Afro-Americans, black people today, catching more hell than Patrick Henry ever saw. And I'm here to tell you, in case you don't know it, that you got a new generation of black people in this country who don't care anything whatsoever about ours. They don't want to hear you, old Uncle Tom, handkerchief heads, talking about the ours. No. This is a new generation. If they're going to draft these young black men and send them over to Korea or South Vietnam to face 800 million Chinese. If you're not afraid of those odds, you shouldn't be afraid of these odds. Why does this loom to be such an explosive political year? Because this is the year of politics. This is the year when all of the white politicians are going to come into the Negro community. You never see them until election time. You can't blame them until election time. They're going to come in with false promises. And as they make these false promises, they're going to feed our frustrations. And this will only serve to make matters worse. I'm no politician. I'm not even a student of politics. I'm not a Republican, nor a Democrat, nor an American, and got sense enough to know it. I'm one of the 22 million black victims of the Democrats. One of the 22 million black victims of the Republicans, and one of the 22 million black victims of Americanism.
So watch this. Let me stop right there. Let me fast forward to the 21st century. Full disclosure, I am not a Democrat, nor am I a Republican. I'm an independent. A year before last, I did run on a ticket with Tanya Brooks as a secretary, treasurer, in Ward 9, PG County. We took third place. They had to do a recount. That's how close it was. Okay? So I came a Democrat to run on that ticket because I want to see some change. And I believed in looking out for the citizens of Ward 9. But I am an independent because in the bigger scheme of things for me, I'm looking at the results. I'm looking at what have they done for us. What do we have to show from these politicians? What? Everybody is getting something but us. When I say us, I'm not talking about people of color. I'm talking about specifically foundational black Americans. How come every black politician we put inside office who represent a predominantly black community, they go from, I'm gonna look out for you, I'm gonna do for you, and then they switch up and become this whole people of color piece. Again, I'm evolving the conversation. Malcolm is a black nationalist. I'm a foundation black American nationalist, okay? I want for us first. I want for us over my brothers on the continent of Africa. I want for us over my brother in the Caribbean. I want for us over my brothers in Brazil. I want for us more than anything else. Us first. Because everybody has been riding foundational black Americans' coattail and reaping the benefits, and we left holding the bag while they reap the benefits. We can't get no loans. The SBA loans, the SBA jobs, the SBA loans, they're not giving to us. It seems like everybody come off the boat. They get something. They get tens of thousands. You get stores springing up all the time. Okay? And just recently, do I have to pull up the article? Do I need to pull up the article? Do I have to show the receipts where it says that even under this whole COVID-19 and these PPP loans, that foundational black Americans are not getting the money? We're not getting the money? We're not getting those loans? We're not. We're the last one to get these loans. Okay? See if can I find out? Oh, I can't find it. We're not getting the money. We're not getting legislation. Again, everybody gets something but us. That day is up. I will hold my vote before I vote for any of these jokers. And you asked me about the Trump piece. Trump is a Trojan horse for black people. See this again. Trump has been a Trojan horse for the black community. So what do you mean? I'm glad you asked. We've been here 400 years, right? And people want to make Trump out to be the worst president in the history of this republic, right? Okay, so watch this. I did a video about 2 years ago about Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington, slave holders, and Andrew Jackson and George Washington were slave hunters. And the article was on the front page of the Washington Post because Trump had misquoted Andrew Jackson saying he could have stopped the Civil War, but Andrew Jackson had died like maybe 7, 8 years before the Civil War. So the historians and the hatred of white folks for other white folks, because we're in the middle of an ideological civil war between white folks, the North and the South, the Union Confederate, and black folks are in the middle again. But we've taken sides when we should be eating popcorn and watch this thing play out and take care of our own business. So with that said, they say Trump is the worst. I say he's a Trojan horse. Because what Trump did, or what he does, he constantly reminds the country, or the illusionists, or the integrationists, or the segregationists, that there are people out here who don't like your black skin. That if America is 320 million or 330 million people, and black folks are only 45 million, which is 13% of the population. Back in Malcolm Day, Malcolm said we was 20 million. Now we're like 45 million. Okay? And Trump being elected president by 70% of white women. Black people showed up. It was the white women that put Trump in office. I'll never forget that. They spawned Trump. They spawned this hatred. Can we keep it real? Can we keep it real? Can we have this discussion about how white culture protects their children more so than black culture? That's a hard pill to swallow. White culture protects their white children. If half of whites hate Trump and the other half like Trump, then we're talking about maybe 100 million like Trump and 100 million don't like Trump. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people that sides with Trump. And then we're not going to deal with the silent ones who believe in white genetic survival. See, because white folks are not going to they're not going to vote against their genetic survival like we do. They may outnumber us in America, but globally, they're the smallest group. And if they believe, like the guys 2 years ago in West Virginia with those tiki torches talking about you will not replace us, you will not replace us. If they believe that their numbers are dwindling and the economy is bad, and they can't take care of their children, and they begin to see their white wealth begin to dissolve and erode, then you're going to see a war. A war. Watch this, family. Let me be very clear. As long as the economy is good, the races can coexist. Say this again. As long as you have a good economy, we overlook things. Hey, we can coexist. But when you have a bad economy and the jobs start drying up, then you have people begin to go back to this perspective, to their groups. The Asians will be going to the Asian groups. The Hispanics will go to the Hispanic groups. The whites will go to the white groups. The blacks will go to their groups. The only thing that keeps America thriving in this beacon of hope, this democracy, is an economy. When the economy falls, everybody go back to their groups for what? Self-preservation, the survival of the species. Okay? Be very clear on this. I don't blame them. Because watch this. If and when this economy drops, the Asians have supply lines. They have distribution centers. They have stores, grocery stores. They have their own gas stations. The Latinos have a supply line. They have their grocery stores. They have their gas stations. They have their hardware stores. The Italians, the German towns, the Amish community, they have their supply lines. They have their distribution centers. They have everything they need to maintain and weather this national economic collapse. What do black people have other than faith? And churches. And talk. You won't fight. It's amazing how we would go and fight in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, the Korean War, Vietnam War, Iraqi War, but we constantly see war declared on us and we do nothing but wait for the National Guard, the sheriffs. I digress. Back to Malcolm. Where you at, Malcolm? Where you at? I know y'all, some of y'all, you can leave. You know, I'm only 25 minutes into the whole video. The video's only 52 minutes. I've been going maybe about, I don't know how long I've been going. Maybe 2 hours? I'm gonna give you some more, just a little bit more. The speech, the message is the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet. 1964, Malcolm X, some 56 years ago. The ballot or the bullet. This is what you're listening to. Okay? Back to Malcolm.
And when I speak, I don't speak as a Democrat or a Republican. I speak as a victim of America's so-called democracy. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it. And I'm not afraid to say it. If you go to jail, so what? If you're black, you were born in jail. If you black, you were born in jail. In the North as well as the South. Stop talking about the South. As long as you're south of the Canadian border, you're south. Don't call Governor Wallace a Dixie governor. Romney is a Dixie governor. $22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. They see that the whites are so evenly divided that every time they vote, the race is so close, they have to go back and count the votes all over again. And which means that any block, any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it.
Hold up. And this is why I say, if you're a Foundation Black American who are supposed to be represented by the Congressional Coon Caucus or Congressional Black Caucus, who we keep putting these same sellouts, these same bootlickers, these same pacifiers in office, and we have nothing to show for. Oh, okay. Let me, okay. Hold up. Got to get my battery when I did. I didn't realize it wasn't even plugged up. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Okay. I think I may have that. Hold up a second. I think it's in there. What was I saying about the politicians? So we got the politicians who, family, we just may have to hold our vote until we get some tangibles. We need some specific things for us. At the top of the list, reparations. Reparations. Number 2, we need to be put in a protective class. A protective class. Not just because of the COVID piece. The COVID-19 should put us. The COVID-19 should put us in a protective class because we're dying allegedly faster than everybody else, more than everybody else. So that right there should put us in a protected class. Not no sanctuary cities for others. Not no immigration legislation where you want to give them money. Not no fighting for the borders piece. We need to focus on us specifically. And if we can't get something specifically, we hold the vote. We hold the vote. Look, you're talking about, you gotta vote from somebody. You don't have to vote for nobody. You don't have to. Things get worse. We've been here for 400 years. What more worse can happen other than death? What? Give me the worst case scenario. If we keep on giving them our vote and getting nothing in return, who does that? That's political suicide. You ask for help and they give you nothing. If I'm drowning and you toss me a sandwich instead of a life preserver, you ain't help me by tossing me no sandwich. I need a life preserver. We've been tossed crumbs with nothing to show for. Nothing to show for. We hold the vote. We need new ideas, new people, fearless people, women and men, who will not, after this COVID piece is out, go back to business as usual. Go back to business as usual, okay? We need fearless fighting men and women who are concerned about foundational Black Americans exclusively, unapologetic about what our needs are. Everybody else, you got to fend for yourself right now, especially after this COVID piece. We have not seen the carnage, okay? We haven't seen the carnage. We cannot continue politics that we've been doing it. It has failed us. Watch this. Prior to the 60s and the 70s, we got more done with less politics in the 1900s, in the 1800s, than we have with all these politicians right now who are doing nothing for us. Nothing. Okay? Back to Malcolm. I'm going to have to cut this thing. I'm going to have to end this because I think my battery about to go dead. I don't think it's not saying it's charging. So let me see something. Hold on a second. Go back to Malcolm.
You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You can keep Johnson in Washington, D.C., or you can send him back to his Texas cotton patch. You're the one who sent Kennedy to Washington. You're the one who put the present Democratic administration in Washington, D.C. The whites were evenly divided. It was the fact that you threw 80% of your votes behind the Democrats that put the Democrats in the White House. When you see this, you can see that the Negro vote is the key factor. And despite the fact that you are in a position to be the determining factor, what do you get out of it? The Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. only because of the Negro vote. They've been down there 4 years. And all other legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up and gotten it out of the way, and now they bring up you.
Okay, so watch this, 21st century. The Democrats have been in power under the previous administration, under Clinton administration, and what did we get? What did we get as a collective outside of a crime bill, a 3 strikes you're out crime bill? What have we gotten, family? Exclusively for foundational Black Americans, what have we received? So why are we still giving all our collateral, all our votes to a group who's been in power, who's been representing us for years, and with nothing to show for? Nothing to show for, family. Nothing to show for. We have nothing to show for. Everybody is getting something. And every time we bring up one of our needs, they ignore us. We hold a vote. We don't vote for nobody. None of them. Until they put us in a protective class, put reparations on the table. And I'm not talking about some give money to the HBCs. Everybody ain't going to college. Everybody Black ain't going to college. But we need to be in a protective class. Like yesterday. We need about 500 billion just to make sure that we're going to be around here the next 100 years because of this COVID piece. Okay? And we need to, if you can summons and find $6 trillion or $4 trillion for a bailout of a COVID relief stimulus package, don't tell me you cannot find $1 trillion. We can start with $1 trillion and start making payments to Black people now, foundation Black Americans, educated or not. The one thing I noticed when America gave the money to the Jews, the Jewish community, it wasn't, they didn't preference it about we need to be all on the same page. They need all to be on the same page. We need workshops. When they gave money to the Indians, they didn't preference we need to study or we need to be all on the same page. They just gave the money. They distributed money. They need to start distributing money to us immediately. Especially, they can make us a protective class right now because COVID-19 allegedly is taking us out. We are a protective class. If you can do it for the illegals, if you can do these sanctuary cities, if you can do it for the LGBTQ community, if you can do it for white women, well, damn it, you can do it for Foundation Black Americans. Make us a protected class. And start right now on that reparations package. We don't need no study. You had 400 years to study. We don't need no specialists. You didn't do a specialist for that stimulus package. You didn't need no hearing for that stimulus package. You found $6 billion. Okay, you can find $3 billion. You found $3 trillion, $4 trillion. So guess what? You can find at least, you can start with $2 trillion right now for us and start making payments to us. And I mean that. Yeah. And you can start releasing some land to all of us. To the children of child slavery. Well, people say, well, how are they going to find out how they going to know who the land go to? If you guys are using that ancestry piece, you can trace your lineage. One thing about white society, they keep books. They keep the ledger. They got the books. They like to write what they did. Well, they used to like write it. Right now, they're trying to be so multicultural. They don't want to offend nobody. But get those books in the 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, 1800. They bragged about who they killed, how they killed them, who they conquered. Okay? So, reparations now. No more excuses about reparations. And for all those who don't want it, you don't have to get it. For all those who realize that their ancestors are saying never forget is a call to action, family. It's not just a slogan. Never forget means don't forget what they did and don't forget what they owe. Okay? That's real talk. Back to Malcolm. I'm going to go to 3 o'clock.
And now they bring up you. You put them first and they put you last. Because you're a chump. A political chump. In Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives, there are 257 who are Democrats. Only 177 are Republicans. In the Senate, there are 67 Democrats. Only 33 are Republicans. The party that you bash controls 2/3 of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and still they can't keep their promise to you because you're a chump. Anytime you throw your weight behind a political party that controls 2/3 of the government, and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time, and you are dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race.
And let me go a step further. Since we have all these scared ass people talking about we got to get Trump out of here, I don't care if he stay or go. All I care about is what they're going to do for us. And up until he was in the White House, they ain't did nothing for us. The previous administration, the one before that, the one before that, the one before that, nobody's doing nothing for us. Nobody. I am not your political Trump. Or Trump. Okay? As I said, I'm an independent. You know, my concern is about our collective and nobody else. What are you going to do for us? Not for me specifically. I'm not crying. That damn Trump ain't no boogeyman to me. He's the boogeyman to most of y'all. He ain't that to me. I told you he's the best kept secret. He's a Trojan horse. Trojan horse. Because right now, again, never in the history of my lifetime or this country, black folks had so much to say about a white man in front of other white folks. And white folks who hate Trump have given black folks that they hate a pass to talk about somebody they hate. It's like the enemy of my friend right now is my friend. You need to know when you're being played. Know when you're being played. I believe if Malcolm was here today, he cared about Trump. He cared about his people. Who's going to do for his people? Okay? And I haven't mentioned Biden's name because I know his history. Same bird, two different feathers. Trump and Biden, the same bird, two different feathers. They still on that same bird though. Biden, watch this. The carnage from that 3-strike rule that he was proud to put out there. Our families are still suffering. Our families are still suffering from that 3 strikes rule that he penned. Okay? Y'all can have Biden. You can have Trump. I don't care who in that White House per se, as long as they take care of us who have not been taken care of. Okay? Again, this is an ideological war between the North and the South. It's an ideological war between the Republicans and Democrats. White. Black folks are in the middle, like the Civil War. When you should be trying to think on the survival of our people, you're taking sides in a fight that's not even yours. You have no friends. Look at your community right now. Show me how come the Latinos, the Arabs, the Ethiopians, or the Indians can just come off the boat and get a loan, and your ass don't get nothing. 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 He's a Trojan horse. We're at war, family. This ain't emotional. Take the emotions out of it. We're at war. And you're talking to a soldier. We're at war. But because we got so many emotional men out here these days, they're acting like women. They're castrated, neutered, spaded. No fight in them. You can't even, they couldn't even talk like this. We got to be nice. No, we need to be direct. Our children are at stake. This ain't no game. Every time I look at the little young'uns, I'm thinking about, is there gonna be foundation Black Americans some 25, 50 years from now? Is it gonna be? I don't know. If they make us to face a COVID, then they're gonna quarantine us. If they quarantine us, then they're going to inoculate us. If they inoculate us, they're gonna put the traces on us. And when they trace us, they're gonna castrate you. Or castration before the tracing. I'm gonna come back and do something. I really need to come back and deal with that whole us being a face, and because I don't want to take away from Malcolm's Day. But family, this is no joke for me. You can't talk like this for this long. It's no joke. We have to be about the business of preserving and saving our people. Period. There's nothing more important than the salvation and the survival of foundational Black Americans. I didn't say I didn't say Chinese. I didn't say Japanese. I didn't say Koreans. I didn't say this. I said the foundational Black Americans. There's nothing more important than the survival of our species. And I cannot imagine a world without us. Maybe you can, because you want this illusion, this intersectionality, this multicultural thing that you only see in school. We've been under quarantine for like maybe 3 months now. Where's this multiculturalism now? I don't see it. I don't see it at all. It don't exist. It's a fantasy. Back to Malcolm, and I'm gonna end this thing.
And what kind of alibi do they come up with? They try and pass the buck to the Dixiecrats. Now, back during the days when you were blind, deaf, and dumb, ignorant, politically immature, naturally you went along with that. But today, as your eyes come open and you develop political maturity, you're able to see and think for yourself. And you can see that a Dixiecrat is nothing but a Democrat in disguise. You look at the structure of the government that controls this country. It's controlled by 16 senatorial committees and 20 congressional committees. Of the 16 senatorial committees that run the government, 10 of them are in the hands of Southern segregationists. Of the 20 congressional committees that run the government, 12 of them are in the hands of Southern segregationists. And they're going to tell you and me that the South lost the war. Today are in the hands of a government of segregationists, racists, white supremacists, who belong to the Democratic Party but
still do
themselves as Dixiecrats.
Look, the Democratic Party used to be the Dixiecrat Party. Most blacks back in the 60s and the 50s, 40s, they were Republicans, okay? It's been a switch, it's been a role reversal since the assassination of Kennedy. and the implementation of the New Deal with Lyndon Baines Johnson. Okay, so look, so let's fast forward to some 50 years later, or 50 years later. Black folks have been voting for Democrats for the last almost 40, 50 years with nothing to show for it. The only people getting any legislation is LGBTQs, Latinos, white women. That day is over. It's over. It's over. We need some tangibles. Tangibles. I mean tangibles. And if they can't give us something specifically for us, they're done. Done, family. You got to come off that we got to do something. Yeah, hold your damn vote. And I got great respect for the Joe Madisons. The guys who've been out there on the fight for years. Sharptons, Jesse, Mark Morales. But COVID exposed the negligence of all of them. How these folks for real have sacrificed the culture for the party. They've sacrificed the culture, Foundation Black American culture, for the Democrat Party. Hold the vote. Become an independent. Listen, family, when you're in a relationship with your husband or your wife, with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, if the person doesn't feel some reciprocation, meaning if you don't feel that the person is giving back, what happens? The person gonna pull away, and eventually they're gonna leave. Why do we feel like that we have to stay with a party who gives us nothing but wrap the promises and give everything else to everybody else, and we stay? We don't owe no. Dr. John Henry Clark said, we don't owe nobody nothing but we don't know. The only thing we owe anybody right now is an ass whooping. We don't owe them nothing. We don't owe this Democratic Party nor the Republicans. We don't owe them blind loyalty because of fear. Okay? Again, if we had our own media, which is 13% of the radios and television and print, since we are 45 million, we should have 13% of we should have, like La Raza has their television stations. The Koreans have their Korean networks. The Japanese have the Japanese networks. We should have a black network. And I'm not talking about Radio 1. Radio 1 and BET has did more damage to the black psyche. I love you, Kathy Hughes, what you was able to accomplish. But the product that you're putting out there, the product that every day is going to the minds of our people, that's unforgivable. When you have radio station, television station, and you just keep putting out hoe, slut, bitch, kill, drugs, and you promote the worst of us and send those images throughout the world, no. I've been saying for years we need our own. We do have our own. Got my little phone with a camera, get some lights, create our own. Okay? So look here, it's 3:04. I believe I've been talking since maybe 12 something. I can't say enough about this because, again, for those who just let Malcolm X Day just come and go like it's nothing, just so you can get steady doses of fear, COVID-19 this, COVID-19 that, Trump this, Trump that. And put no respect on Malcolm, no respect on the ancestor who speaks for all of us. Shame on you. That's why I'm doing this. The zeal ate me up. The disrespect that we put so much stock in these platforms that don't have no respect for our leaders, have no respect for our heroes and sheroes. Everybody should be talking about Malcolm X this week. It ain't no one day. It's all week, Malcolm X, all week. Because we don't get this type of talk. We always talking about, we need somebody who's going to speak up and talk like Malcolm. You got him. You don't even recognize. You don't even support the ones who talk like Malcolm. It scares you. Look, I'm a lone wolf. I ain't nobody's leader. Be very clear. You be the leader you need to see. I just know what needs to be done. What we can do right now. And like I said before, when in times of war, you don't consult no ministers, your pastors, your elders, your bishops. That day is over. That day is over. White male-dominant culture does not go to Kenneth Copeland, John Hagee, Billy Graham Jr. in times of war. They don't consult them about warfare. They go to them for prayer. They ask that God will bless them, protect them, and give them victory in times of war. Black people, stop going to your preachers in times of war and your prophets. Because they ain't even see this coming. They've been quiet for years. They're speaking now, but they've been quiet for years. I'm going to go on record right now. The prophets, the preachers are playing catch up to this whole COVID piece and this whole economic tsunami that we're about to experience. And if they're not right now talking about the need to come together and function as a collective, not as individuals, you need to ask your pastor or your minister or your prophet, where are you taking us? That should be the question on everybody's mouth. To your pastor, to your leader that you put so much stock into, where are you taking us? Not your individual congregation. Where are you taking us as a people? So watch this. I'm about to leave. I'm a warrior. I subscribe to the Joshua generation. I'm not a Gideonite, per se, but I respect Gideon. We need to summons the person we want to see. Be that, like I said, that lone wolf. Be that lone wolf. We don't need, stop looking for an individual leader. That day is over. Go as a tribe. Come together. Pull our resources together. And be that lone wolf. Summons that warrior wolf in you. That one that will protect the pack. I'm protecting the pack. With that said, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you putting some respect on Malcolm X Day. Our bright and shiny prince. Our spokesperson. And Malcolm's words ring so true that other people hear Malcolm's tapes and his words resonate with their culture. So Malcolm is not just our Malcolm. He's an international Malcolm. There's a street in Turkey named Malcolm X Boulevard. The Turkish prime minister named the street after Malcolm. So Malcolm is still respected worldwide. His words transcend race. But he was focused on African Americans, so-called African Americans, and he was a Pan-Africanist. Okay, but some 50 years later, things have changed, and our African brothers has not been as sincere as back in the days of the Kwame Toure's, the Kwame Nkrumah, the Patrice Lumumbas, the Steve Bikos. Right now, we get more traitorous African leaders who's only concerned about themselves and not the people. That's why I suggest we lock shoulders as Foundation Black Americans and look out for our own interests first. Nothing, nobody, no institution, no church family, no belief system is more important right now than the survival of foundational Black American collective, period. And for my church family who are waiting for a Messiah to crack the sky, who was anticipating some type of a tribulation, let me say this. In my study of history and study of the Jewish religion, the children of Israel, one tribe didn't speak for the whole nation. There was 12 tribes. 12. And I see a lot of tribal stuff out here right now. Everybody's right, but nobody's concerned about the collective. Everybody's right about their tribe. The tribes consist of a nation, not the tribe was the nation. Okay? What makes America unique is so many people coexist under the banner of freedom, liberty, and justice for all. But when you start to put that statement under the microscope of truth, you see that Foundation Black Americans are not getting the freedom, the justice for all. We're coming up short. With that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you want to support me, go to Juan, $JUANJ29 at the Cash App. That's $JUANJ29 on the Cash App. I think it should be in the on the feed if you want to support. Again, I'm praying that God put millions and billions into my hand so I can buy out all these communities and put us in them. Unapologetic about seeing the survival of our people and hiring the best managers, the brightest business minds to assist me or work together in building foundational Black American communities nationwide. Period. I want to see factories. I want to employ our own. We are a force to work. We are a force to reckon with. We must just summon the power and the strength to be what we want to see. With that said, remember this. Put some more respect on Malcolm X. Check out his lectures. Check out his lectures on YouTube. And just know this. There's some folks out here who's fighting for us, who wants the best for us. Love everybody, but I'm very specific about my love for my people. And I always remember, at the end of the day, it is not how much you know, it's how much you care. Long live the spirit of El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. Malcolm X. I'm out.